Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Isidro Alaniz. I'm the district attorney for Webb and Zapata counties. Webb is the 6th largest county in the state of Texas. It's about 242 counties in the state of Texas. My responsibility, my job as district attorney is to enforce the laws of the state of Texas. I represent the people of the state of Texas. I represent the families of the state of Texas. I represent you on behalf of the state of Texas. So those people that break the law, the first people that they encounter typically are the police. When the police make the arrest and do their investigations, then they bring their reports to the district attorney's office. The district attorney's office, working with the police agencies and all the different experts that help investigate a case, work with our office in order to prepare the case, to present the case to the court, to a jury, to hold that person who's accused of the crime accountable for that crime. The case that we're going to talk about here today is a real case from here in Laredo, Texas, on the murder, rape, and kidnapping of a little baby named Catherine Cardenas. She was 2 years old. This was a tragic case in all aspects. The person that committed this crime was a young man. At the time, he was 16 years old, a juvenile who became certified as an adult. He got out of the juvenile system and came into my system where we deal with adults. I'm very appreciative of being invited back to United South to come here and share with you I understand you all are criminal justice students, and perhaps you have a dream or goal to work for a law enforcement agency. It could be Laredo Police Department, it could be the DPS, Border Patrol, any of the federal, state, or local police agencies. Or perhaps you want to pursue a career in law, to go on and become a district attorney, or become a lawyer, become a judge. Whatever it is, I can tell you that you can do it. It takes hard work, it takes discipline, it takes dedication, commitment. But if you apply yourself, and I know you all do, you can get there. You can get there. I had that dream when I was at Nixon High School. When I graduated from Nixon High School, my journey began, and I eventually got to achieve my goals, my dream of being where I'm at today, representing the people of Webb County and representing the people of the state of Texas.
Police are now investigating the death of an officer family members find her body inside their West Laredo home. It's our top story tonight. Officers were called to the 3100 block of Main Street around 10 this morning. Police are still not saying much because their investigation is still ongoing, but do say the child may be around 2 years old. Family members who don't live at the home say the girl had been missing since early this morning and was found in a cabinet of some sort, but that has not been confirmed by authorities.
Circumstances surrounding how she was found, in addition to how what led up, is still being investigated at this point. It's a very emotional case, especially whenever a death of a child involved.
The Webb County Medical Examiner will now conduct an autopsy. Police say no one has been arrested as the case is still being investigated as a death.
We can get these lights off. Okay. It was September the 4th of 2009. September the 4th of 2009 here in Laredo, Webb County, Texas. It was a rainy night. It was a rainy night. The rain was falling hard. And this story, this tragic story, this sad story, starts in this house in West Laredo. The address is 1620 Blair, where it happens. 1620. It's at this house that on that night there was going to be a party. There was going to be alcohol. There was going to be marijuana. A small group of friends. In this house lived two families. The family of Norma Patricia Holguin. She was 26 years old. She had 7 children from the age of 12 or 13 down to 2 years old, baby Catherine. She lived there with her 7 children. She was a single mom. Also living there was her sister, her older sister, maybe in her 40s, named Maria Holguin. And Maria Holguin had 4 children in this humble home. And they all lived there. And she was also a single mother. Okay? September 4th, that night, there's a get-together. There's a party. There's drinking. Things go on till about 3 in the morning, close to 4 in the morning, when all the lights go out. Sometime around 9:30 in the morning on September the 5th of 2009, one of the Holguin boys, I think it's Fernando, he wakes up. It's the first one to wake up. Now in this small house, the children, Pati Holguin's children, they would sleep on the floor near their mom's bed. The little baby, Catherine Cardenas, her favorite spot was at the foot of the bed where she would go to sleep with her purple blanket and she would cuddle up on the floor. So when Fernando wakes up that morning, and as he's walking to the restroom, baby Catherine's not in her spot. He looks around and can't find her. He wakes everybody up. Everybody wake up. Baby Catherine's, she's not here. And the thing about baby Catherine, she was real special. She was a consentida. She was the favorite of the family. She loved to dance. She loved to paint her nails. She loved to have her hair done. They all loved her. So they start looking for her. They're thinking, you know what, she's hiding. She's playing hide and go seek. So they start looking in the house. They look under the bed. They look behind the doors. They look in the closets. They can't find her. They go outside. They start looking around. They can't find her. Where can she be? So now panic starts to come in. They start going and knocking on the neighbors' doors. Have you seen baby Catherine? We can't find her. They're knocking on all the neighbor doors. Neighbors come out. Everybody starts looking. Pati Holguin calls her ex-husband, Benito Cardenas. Hey, did you come pick up the baby? I can't find the baby. He's like, I don't have the baby. Maria Holguin, she calls her ex-husband. Hey, did you come and get the baby? They didn't know what they're talking about. They call the grandparents. Nobody knows. So they call 911. They call 911. Officer Smith, Priscilla Smith, is patrolling West Laredo on her shift. She had just started her shift. She gets the call. Priscilla Smith, she's probably been an officer for 2 years. She arrives at the scene. She sees everybody scared. Meets with mom. Mom's shaking. Starts to ask questions, trying to find out what's going on. At the same time that she's questioning mom, her sergeant arrives, Sergeant Yanez. Sergeant Yanez gets there. He starts to search the house. He goes in, he looks room by room. In his experience and training, he's been a cop for a long time. He's looking everywhere. He even looks in the washer. He even looks in the dryer. He's looking in containers. He's looking inside the house. She's not inside the house. He walks to the backyard over here. And you see some police officers right there. He walks to the backyard, and all the brothers, sisters, cousins, everybody's looking. So Sergeant Yanez, in his training and experience, he sees these two little boys. They're like 6 and 4. They're Catherine's brothers. And he goes up to them. Obviously, they know Catherine well. So he goes up to them and he says, "Do you guys play hide and go seek? Do you guys like to play hide and go seek?" And they say, "Yes, we like to play." And he says, "Well, where do you like to hide?" And the kids, they start looking around the backyard. And there's a little shed, a little cuartito on the side. They look over there. And then behind the shed, there's some cabinets. Some old cabinets with drawers, with cajones. And their little eyes, they turn and they look over there. And they don't say anything, but Sergeant Yanez notices their behavior. So he says, "Do you guys like to hide in that cabinet?" And then the bigger boy says, "I don't fit." And then he points to his little brother, the 4-year-old. He goes, "But he fits." So Sergeant Yanez, obviously Catherine's smaller. So his training, he says, let me go investigate. Now everybody's already looked all over the house. So Sergeant Yanez goes over there to the cabinet. It's in the far northeast corner of the property. And it's covered with a bunch of junk. And the little brother, the brother says, "There's her blankie. Her purple blanket's on top of the cabinet." So Sergeant Yanez gets to the drawer. It's around this big. And it's got 3 drawers, 3 cajones. And the first one, he leans on it right here and he opens it. And it's empty. And then he goes to the second one and he opens it and it's empty. And he gets to the third one and he gets down on a knee and he tries to open it and it's stuck. So then he uses some force and he opens it. All he hears is a scream. Catherine's brothers are standing over his shoulder. He forgot about them. And in the drawer is baby Catherine. She's naked from the waist down. She's bleeding. She's full of dirt. She's full of mud. She's all bruised up. And she's dead. The little boys run back to the house crying. Yanez is in shock. And he backs out. He calls for backup. And all the police get there. And that's why we're here. That's why we're all here. To find out who did this. And for whoever did this, hold them accountable for harming this innocent little baby. And this is Patricia Holguin. She's the mother of baby Catherine, and you'll get to find out about what her role was in this case. In this story, there were a lot of characters in this story, but you'll get to know about her role in this case. This is the baby. This was the favorite. She was the consentida. She is the one they were all looking for. And that's the way she should have been. That's the way she should have been. Innocent, healthy, and happy. That drawer became her coffin when she was put in there and forgotten. And it was Now, the job of the Laredo Police Department to find her killer. To find her killer. And what I'm going to share with you today are some of the techniques that were used, some of the strategies that we used in order to find him and then prosecute him. And my goal was to put him in jail, not for 1, not for 2, not for 3, but for 4 life sentences. In this story, like many stories, there's a lot of characters. And we're going to present a case like this. You, the listeners, you, the jury, who need to make these decisions, have to learn who the characters are. And if I tell you this story, I want you to learn who these people are so you could follow along. This is a case that will take 8 days. 8 days, from 8 to 10 hours a day. You will sit and you will listen and observe the evidence, listen to the witnesses, look at the medical evidence, the physical evidence, the forensic evidence, and then you will have to decide if the person accused is guilty. We have Norma Patricia Holguin and her family, Maria Holguin, the Arredondos, and Miguel Bolaños. All of these people played a critical role in the case one way or another. In this story, it starts with Pati Holguin, Miguel Bolaños, Maria Holguin, Luis Holguin, Carlos Fernandez, Jesus Fernandez, Rebecca Fernandez, Lalo Arredondo, Gabriela Arredondo, who is the mother of Lalo, Marta Chavarria, the aunt of Lalo, Miguel Arredondo, who is the father of Lalo. Everybody had a role in this case. What did they do? It starts with Miguel Bolaños, that Friday night that I told you, September the 4th, of him wanting to go to 1620 Blair. He wanted to go visit his friends, Luis and Carlos and Jesus, who live there. Miguel's 18 years old. They're not home. So he walks down the street and he comes back around midnight. He comes back around midnight. At that time, close to about 11:30 or so, they start to have a little party. What do they have at this party? They have beer. We also come to find out that they also had drugs. So they're drinking beer. Pati Holguin, Miguel Bolaños, who's 18, Luis Holguin, a teenager, Carlos Fernandez, a teenager, Jesus Fernandez, also a teenager, Rebecca Fernandez, who's married to one of these guys, I forget, and Lalo. They're all there. They're hanging out. It's raining, drizzling. So they're in and out of the house, but they're there hanging out. Maria Holguin, I told you she was about 40 years old. She was kind of the one in charge of the house. So she gets back from a bingo, and she was out with some other people, some other friends, but she gets there at 3 a.m. and she's also going to play an important role in this case. We're going to bring her, and you'll be able to listen to her testimony. All of these witnesses that you see here, one way or the other, we'll be able to bring them to you, or you'll be able to listen to their voices on recordings to make the decisions that have to be made. It's going to be important because Maria Holguin, she places Lalo Arredondo at the house. Okay? At 3 a.m., the party's still going on. The evidence is going to show that around that time, Pati Holguin was hungry, so she wanted to go get something to eat. So she invites Miguel Bolaños to walk with her to the Stripes on San Bernardo and Madison. There's a gas station, and they're open 24 hours, so she wants to go get something to eat. So the evidence is going to show that they walk out. They're walking down the street. Lalo Arredondo, he runs from the house to join them. So all three of them go to the gas station. At 3 a.m., they arrive at the gas station. How do we know this? Police were able to obtain video from the gas station of them going in. You will see the video. And you have to pay attention to the video, because in the video you will see the demeanor, you will see the behavior and the actions of the people in that video. And that will become very important in this case. They leave Stripes at 3:15. What happens after this changes all the course of events for that night. Keep in mind at this time that baby Catherine is still at home. She's asleep in her blanket, probably dreaming. But they leave. They go to the house on Lafayette. Miguel Bolaños, who's 18 years old, he likes Pati Holguin. He likes her. He wants to date her. They leave the Stripes. They take the 10-minute walk to Lafayette, and there's a house there where Bolaños lives, his mom's house. The back of the house, there's an apartment. So as they're walking down the street, both Lalo and Miguel want to be with Pati. Listen to that. Both Lalo and Miguel want to be with Pati. They want to be alone with her. They want to have sex with her. So Pati has to choose who she wants to be with. Pati rejects Lalo. She tells him, I don't want to be with you. Leave me alone. Back off. Stop bothering me. She grabs Miguel by the hand. He says, I want to be with you. So they leave Lalo in the street. They walk into Bolaños' property and they go to the apartment. And they tell Lalo to wait outside. That's when Lalo's blood begins to boil. That's when he begins to boil. He takes some barras or some pills. He starts taking those. He'd already been smoking marijuana. Now he decides to take some pills, some drugs. Pati is with Miguel. When they come out, Lalo's gone. Now it's close to 4 in the morning. Lalo's gone. Miguel and Pati, holding hands, walk back to Pati's house at 1620 Blair. It takes around 8 minutes, 9 minutes. They get there. Remember, it was raining that night. Miguel Bolaños, earlier that night, he was wearing a shirt. He had an Under Armour t-shirt underneath. His shirt got wet. So he leaves. He goes inside the house, takes off his shirt, and hangs it on a chair. This will become very important because Miguel will come and tell you that when he walks Pati back home, and he walks inside her house to get his shirt. He had left it there to dry. Very important because it's 4 o'clock. He walks in and the kitchen light is on. Kitchen light is shining on the bedroom where baby Catherine is. And Miguel will tell you, when I went to get my shirt, I turned and I saw baby Catherine asleep. She was still alive. He gives Pati a kiss and he goes home. Pati goes to bed. She sees her baby in her favorite spot. And she goes to sleep. Maria Holguin, also, who's in charge of the house, she makes sure all the lights are off. And she sees baby Catherine. So now we're close to 4:30 in the morning. What happens next? We estimate that sometime about 4:30 in the morning, Pati she's awoken. Somebody's pushing her back, telling her, hey, wake up. Wake up. She opens her eyes. It's black. The only light coming in is from the moonlight. The windows are open because there's no air condition. All the windows were open in the house. You could get in the house by sticking your hand in and opening the door. So she turns and she just sees the silhouette of Lalo. And he's asking her, I want to be with you. I want to be with you. And what does she say? She says, no. Leave. Leave me alone. She turns over and she goes to sleep. And that's, remember I told you his blood was boiling? He'd been taking those drugs. That's when he decides to take revenge. And what he does after this is something that's unimaginable, something horrible. He decides, as her 7 babies lay asleep on the floor, he decides to pick up the smallest, youngest, the most defenseless little one. He picks her up in her blanket as she's still asleep, and he takes her, he kidnaps her, and he takes her outside. By this time, the rain had stopped. I imagine she was in a heavy sleep. He takes her to the back of the property behind the shed where he rips her diapers off as he unbuckles his pants. She wakes up. She's scared. She doesn't understand what's going on. He puts her face down. He puts his hands around her neck, her left side down in the mud of her face, and he presses her down as he brutally rapes her. And he rapes her over and over and over again. And as she fights, he beats her until she finally gives in to his strength, and he chokes her to the point where she takes her last breath. He cuts off the air to her little lungs, and he murders her. There's only one problem. In that struggle and in that fight, baby Catherine marked him. She marked his pants. She marked his white pants with her blood. And like happens in many cases, after a crime is committed, the criminal panics. And after you panic, you try to cover up. And Lalo did that. He tried to cover up his crime. With his blood-stained jeans, he goes home. He tries to wash them at 5 in the morning. And you'll hear his mother and his tia who lived in his apartment there at 1310 Jackson. His tia remembers hearing the washing machine turn on at 5:30 in the morning. What teenager washes his clothes at that time? She thought it was odd. The police the next day, after the body's found, the police get a list of everybody who was at the house that night. The police fan out and they go house by house by house, looking for every teenager that was there, taking everybody to the police station, searching everybody's house, wanting the clothes that everybody was wearing, their shoes, their underwear, their pants, their shirts, everything, their socks. But what was interesting about this case is that when they go here, they're looking for the clothes. Marta Chavarria will tell you that when the police arrive and they ask for the clothes, she says, well, he was wearing white pants. Well, how do you know, Ms. Chavarria? Well, I picked them out for him. Se los planché. I ironed his pants. Let me get them for you. So she looks, and she looks, and she looks, and she cannot find the white pants. All the teenagers go to the police station. They're all separated. They're all questioned. And all of them what? They all deny any knowledge. Nobody knows anything. They question Lalo. He goes back home. September 5th. September 6th, which is Sunday now, September 6th, Gabriela Arredondo will tell you that when she woke up in the morning, she found Lalo Arredondo in the restroom with scissors trying to cut himself. And he's saying, I think I did something. I think I hurt her. The first partial confession. When she's faced with this fear, this terror, what she decides to do is say, I need to protect my son. I need to protect my son. So her family starts to mobilize. Her family starts to try to say, we need to protect Lalo. I think he did something wrong. So on Monday, remember, September 6th, Sunday, September 7th on Monday, baby murdered Saturday morning. Grandmother from Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, comes. She comes to 1310 Jackson. They put Lalo in the car at 7 in the morning when he should be going to school. They cross the border. He flees the country. At that moment, obviously, Laredo PD gains knowledge of this. He becomes a prime suspect based on the behavior, based on the evidence that's starting to get gathered. On 9/8, you will hear the second confession by Lalo. And this one is something that's amazing on how this confession was obtained. But you will hear it, and you will hear it in his own voice. You will hear it when he's telling his father what he's done. September 29th, using a piece of paper, a document called a consent to search. It's a tool that police use to be able to enter and search a house. You can go into a house under different circumstances, exigent circumstances, or you can go with a search warrant, or you can go with a consent to search. So for the third time in this case, they go back to that house, and on the 29th, guess what they find? The white jeans. The white jeans. On October the 9th, a little over a month from the time of the murder of September the 5th of 2009, with the help of officials from Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, law enforcement, he's arrested in Nuevo Laredo, and he's brought to the bridge where the police take him into custody and charge him with the kidnapping, the rape, and the murder of baby Catherine Cardenas. This was the scene that morning. The chaos and the confusion and the panic. Everybody was a suspect. Jose Lalo Arredondo, Carlos Fernandez, Ricardo, Luis, Miguel, Bolaño, and some guy named Nemo. Police investigation. There was many types of evidence in this case. Physical, forensic, photos, the witnesses, locations, and recordings. One of the most helpful tools that law enforcement can use is anytime that there's a crime is CSI, crime scene investigators, arrive and take pictures. In this case, there was more than 500 pictures, 500 photographs taken of the crime scene, of the victim, of the location, of objects, of the house. You'll get to see a lot of those photos. The autopsy, the injuries suffered by the little baby, suffered on her face, suffered on her body, suffered on her private parts. All of those photographs are evidence that you will be able to see. The crime scene. Anytime there's a crime scene, like in this case, the crime scene was roped off. Investigators go in there and look for evidence. Remember, at this point in time, you don't know what evidence you're looking for. You know there's a dead baby. Crime scene investigators use their training and their experience, and the detective in this case photograph everything. There's many cases where drugs are involved in a crime. Alcohol was present in this case. Marijuana was present in this case. Pills were present in this case. So, you see those cones. These cones are indicate evidence. Evidence of alcohol and drug use. Evidence. The shed. This is the way it was found on the morning of September the 5th of 2009. The most important thing for crime scene investigators is not to disturb the crime scene. This crime scene had already been trampled on because people were looking for baby Catherine. So I don't know how many people were running all over the place in there. But nevertheless, when police get there, you got to rope it off, keep all the people out. Everybody in the neighborhood was in an outrage. They wanted to find out who hurt the baby. There you see the cabinet behind the shed. Okay? The number one piece of evidence in this case, first, is the baby. She's our number one priority. So of all the cones that you'll end up counting in this case, the most important piece of evidence is the innocent baby. Which you can't see here, but there's other photographs, is the blanket and her diaper. Those are pieces of evidence that we will bring to court, that we will be able to show the jury. A crime scene. Very important. These photos taken after the crime scene, after the crime, you're going to see these little marks on the ground. Here's another photo. And I know that you know what those are. And those are the hand marks of the little fingers as she struggled on the ground, fighting for her life. As I told you in the opening statement, there was a lot of locations visited that night. Our job, the state of Texas, and my job as a prosecutor in this case, is to be able to take you to all these places, take you there to the crime scene so that you can follow along and see exactly what took place. What we do is we use tools, the use of technology in the courtroom, maps. Maps are visual aids that will help you, the trier of fact, the people that are going to decide, make your decisions a lot more clearly and with a lot more confidence. And the maps are a great way of doing that. This particular case, what I'm showing you are the different types of maps that I designed with my team that we were going to present to the jury. We didn't use this map because I didn't think it was effective enough. Then there was this map where we thought, let's put the photos of each location, because every witness is going to talk about a different location, and in order for you to keep up, I want to show you each location of where they're at. But this map also, I thought we could do a better job. So we went to this map. You all have seen these maps before. These are Google Maps. This one looked a little bit convoluted, so we still kept working to find a better map. At the end of the day, we ended up with this map. And in this map, you get to see all the locations with all the streets and all the photos, and every witness that comes to testify will be able to tell you where they were at. So this complex case, now we're going to simplify it for you, and we're going to make it easier for you to understand and follow along so that we can achieve our goal. And our goal is to prove Lalo Arredondo guilty of this crime. Crime scene sketch. There's a lot of skills, different skills that come into play if you're with law enforcement. One of the most important pieces of evidence of any crime is the crime scene sketch. The crime scene sketch tells the jury, tells the audience how the house or location looked. Now, if the sketch does not match the photos, it should be redone, disclosed to the defense. That means given to the defense for the defense to see, and you redo it with more detail. Why? Because the jury is able to see the house in a more precise fashion. In this case, we did that. We went back using the photographs and we redid the house. So the map went from that to this. Now this resembles more of the house, how it looked, with all the furniture, the trees, and the location. The witnesses will testify using this map telling you where they were, where they slept, where they saw the baby, to help you better understand the case. That's the house. You see the numbers, 14, 15. You got 17, 18. Those are pictures. The map must match the photographs. They're the cones. And pay close attention to the fact that all the windows in the house were open that night. They slept like that with the windows open. Remember the beer cans. They played a very important role in the evidence in this case. There was evidence that they went and bought beer at the Gas USA. First, at 11:30, they went to the Gas USA and they bought beer. These are the beer cans. You will see the video of them buying beer. There's the shed where the baby's dead. Eddie, you want to check it for me? Let me see. Okay. In this case, there were a lot of families involved. So what we need to do is be able to simplify it so that the jury can learn and memorize who the people are. As you see here, this was an example diagram of all the families that were involved in this case. However, although this was the first one we did, we simplified it to this. When you do presentations, when you get the opportunity, the computers are good, but you could also do poster boards. You guys have used poster boards in your projects. In the presentation of this case, I used 3 poster boards to show the jury who was who in the family. The poster boards are nice because you can hold them up, the jury could see them, and you can display in this simple format who's who. Videos, video evidence. This is very important in this case. The evidence showed that that night around 11:30, when the party was going to start, they went to go buy beer. How do we know this? All of the witnesses were separated. They were questioned and interviewed. As soon as one of the witnesses said, "We bought beer at the Gas USA," police detectives went to the gas station and secured the video surveillance. There's Pati Holguin, Jesus, her nephew, Veronica, look at the weather outside. It's windy. It's raining. The time, 23:28. 23, that's military time, 11:28, September the 4th. What is he getting over here? The Budweiser tall boys. Say exit the store. You'll see her right here coming out. You see her right here. From here, they go back to 1620 Blair, where they continue the party. There are many photographs taken of the injuries suffered by the baby. It's very important to show these photographs because they show what the defendant has actually done, and the medical examiner to explain the cause of death. What you see here is a process of using super glue to lift fingerprints. The fingerprints around her neck. This photo is what is called an as-is photo. An as-is photo is the photo of the body as is, the way it was found before they clean it up. So with the dirt, with the blood, with the mud, whatever she had on her, she's in a white blanket. They wrap her in a blanket. They take her to the medical examiners. They put her on the table, and then they take pictures. After they take all the pictures as is, then they wash the body. They wash the body, clean the body, and then they take more pictures of the injuries. Here, she has a cut on her neck. What this ended up being was what's called a defensive wound. A defensive wound. Defensive wound is a wound that you suffer when you are defending yourself. Somebody's going to stab you with a knife, you pick up your hand and you get cut. That's called a defensive wound. In this particular case, that little mark on her neck, she did with her own little nails. How do you think she did that? She was trying to get the hands off around her neck when she was being suffocated. She put her little hands in here and she cut herself when she was being strangled. That's a defensive wound. Aggravated sexual assault. She was raped in two ways. She was raped through the back and she was raped through the front. The whole time face down. She was also kidnapped. Sometimes you think that when you get kidnapped that you have to be taken away to a far place. That's not the law. The law says that to commit kidnapping, abducting another person with the intention to inflict bodily injury or abuse her sexually, and abduct means restraining the person. Restrain means restricting the movements. Bodily injury means physical pain. All of those things were done in this case. Even though she was taken just 40 feet away from her bedroom, it was a kidnapping. In a place where she is not likely to be found. She was put in a place where she could not be found. With the intent to inflict bodily injury or violate or abuse. And that's what you see here. Now, what she had when she was found, she had a tear from her eye that ran all the way down to her ear. The last tear that came out of her eye as she cried, as she died. And she was put in that drawer. And that's the way he left her. With mud inside her mouth as she was face down. The physical evidence. We brought the drawer, the shirts, the diaper, everything that was brought to the jury. Chain of custody. Anytime there's evidence that is obtained, there's strict protocols that have to be followed in preserving and protecting the evidence from being contaminated. The evidence has to be logged. It has to be inventoried. Has to be written down in order to introduce it into court. Those are strict policies, strict steps that you have to do, and that was done in this case. His pants. Remember I told you that on September 29th they found his pants? These were the white Guess pants. They were in his mother's bedroom under the bed. When police moved the bed, they were able to find the pant with the belt buckle that he wore. The shirt and the pants. Remember I told you in the opening statement that it was around 3 o'clock that Patty was hungry and she wanted to go get something to eat. So they went to the Stripes on Madison and San Bernardo. This is the video of them walking in to the gas station to buy their sodas and to buy their munchies. It's very important that you study their body language. Study their demeanor. Does he look like somebody who's suffering from some sort of mental illness? Does he look like somebody who's crazy? Does he look like somebody who doesn't understand where he's at? Why do I say this? Because one of the defenses in this case was that Lalo Arredondo suffered from psychosis. Suffered from psychosis. He had blackouts. He also did not, he could not understand certain things, that he had hallucinations, that he would hear voices, that he would see a man in a black suit appear and talk to him. This is what his explanation was, that he was sick. That was part of the defense in this case. That he was sick and he could not understand, and therefore he could never do something like this to an innocent child. But I think the video tells a different story. I think the video tells you that when he goes into this gas station at 3:15 in the morning, that he's fine. There's the time, 3:15. There's Miguel Bolaños. Remember I told you about the Under Armour shirt that he was wearing? His shirt was in the house when he went back at 4 in the morning and when he saw baby Catherine. There's Miguel Bolaños. Then you'll see Lalo Arredondo appear in the video, and his demeanor, his behavior is as normal as everyone here. Just normal. Okay? And that's important because obviously if you're hearing voices, if you're seeing strange ghosts, if you're having hallucinations, I don't think you'd be acting so normal, grabbing your soda and there he is. Jail calls. Remember I told you that you would hear in his own voice his confession. What I didn't tell you that was his dad, Miguel Arredondo, was in prison in Wisconsin, in federal prison. And it was from that prison that his father called him to ask him what happened. The only thing was that the conversation was being recorded. All of the phone calls from federal prison are recorded. In this case, with the investigation, because we knew that Lalo panicked, and we knew how important his father was to him, we made a calculated guess that there would be phone calls between the father and the son. And what do you think we found? We struck gold. We struck gold. In his own words, fui yo. Through technology and the internet, you're able to find anybody who's in prison by doing a search. We were able to find, obviously, we located his father. And every phone call his father made from prison, we listened to every phone call till we found that conversation. The fingerprints. Remember I told you the fingerprints? The cyanocrylate fuming. This is the technology. It's normally used, called the super glue method of putting super glue on a electric heat pad. When it's heated up, the fumes stick to the oils on the body. So what was done in this case, baby Catherine was put in this little Rubbermaid plastic container, and then it was heated up, and that's how we were able to see the fingerprints. Interestingly enough, these fingerprints did not match Lalo Arredondo, but I didn't need that, because we had other evidence pinning Lalo to the crime. The strongest thing that this shows is that why would this little baby, who's dead, have fingerprints around her neck? Because he did it. Now, the quality wasn't that good that we couldn't match them, but I don't think we need that. I think the fingerprint itself on the neck tells us it was him. And that's how we obtained it. The superglue technique, commonly known as the superglue technique. And there again, you see her little fingernails, and here you see the smudges from the fingerprints when she was being strangled. She also had hemorrhaging inside her windpipe when they opened her body, because like in an autopsy, they have to examine the exterior and the interior, so that they had to cut open her little chest, and inside her inside her windpipe, she had bruises and hemorrhaging where he cut off the wind. She had blood vessels that had ruptured in her little chest. And those I can't show you, but that also came out. Forensic evidence. Even though Lalo bleached his pants and washed them with soap, we were able to find baby Catherine's blood on his pants. And that's the only time in San Antonio that they ever said they've ever been able to find blood and make a match when they had been washed in soap and bleach. Never happened before. It would have happened in this case. Perhaps I think it was a miracle. But the blood on his pants was baby Catherine's blood. The LPD investigation was extensive. It was coordinated. Everything that was done. Everything that was done. They worked tirelessly for the 30 days right after the crime and for the 18 months that we took to prepare this case to go to trial. And when you present the evidence, chain of custody, the integrity, the security, using gloves, making sure that you do not contaminate evidence is so important. You use the witnesses in combination with all the photos and all the videos and all the scientific and medical evidence in order to tell the story. We had listed more than 60 witnesses in this case. At the very end, I used 16 witnesses to tell the story. Even when a witness has a criminal record, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not telling the truth. A lot of these cases, people have been arrested before. But it's important to get that testimony from them and get the truth from them. The corroboration means making sure that all of the evidence matches. And when the evidence matches, you can be assured that when you make your decision to decide that somebody's guilty, that you could rest easy and you can feel 100% confident that you made the right decision. And in this case, the jury made the right and only decision.
sentences for Arredondo. I'm told he will be somewhere in his 90s before he's eligible for parole. Live at the Justice Center, Annette Garcia, Pro 8 News.
Thank you very much.